شاء الله ما شاء الله ما شاء الله. حبيبي حبيبي حبيبي.
قادر يتنفس من الغبرة. خير جسيم حبيبي. هي طلع 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 طلع.
I'm here to return my Global War on Terrorism medal and my National Defense medal because they're both mine.
And I'm turning in these medals today for the people of Afghanistan, Iraq, Palestine, and all victims of occupation across the world.
And I'm giving back my medals for the children of Iraq and Afghanistan. May they be able to forgive us for what we've done to them.
This medal I'm dedicating to the children of Iraq that no longer have fathers and mothers.
I was a nuclear, biological, chemical specialist for a war that didn't have any weapons of mass destruction. So I deserted. I'm one of 40,000 people that left the United States Armed Forces because this is a lie.
Was any of this worth it? Do these medals thank us for a job well done? Do they mask lies, corruption, and abuse of young men and women?
Uger is a Turkish-American political commentator who was interviewed by Piers Morgan yesterday, and his interview made me very emotional, to say the least. Just listen.
I think what Hamas did is disgusting. I cry for those Israeli innocent civilians. But do I see you guys crying for Palestinians? I mean, Chris Christie was just on here treating it like it's no big deal because what, Palestinian lives don't matter? I think the real bigotry here is saying that Palestinians, we can kill 3 times as many of them already, and this is the appetizer. Netanyahu and his barbaric government have not even started the entree of murder and death and mayhem they're about to do, and that's somehow okay, killing 3 times as many Palestinian civilians, let alone the occupation, which is bigotry by definition. We say that everyone in the world can defend themselves, can have their own state, can have sovereignty, except the Palestinians. And the reasoning behind that is the Palestinians are what? They're what? The idea is that they are savages and that Muslims are too violent and cannot control themselves, so they must be occupied for 56 brutal, disgusting years. So I've had enough of the bigotry against Muslims and Palestinians dropping bombs on residential buildings. 50 ambulances have been hit. 10 out of 25 hospitals don't operate anymore. The incubators are about to run out of energy. There's 45 babies that might die today. The parents I just read on CNN are writing the names of the kids on their calves, on their legs, so that if they are killed in a bombing and they're mutilated, they could find their bodies. Imagine writing the name of your child on their legs so that you could find them in the rubble after Israel or any government drops a bomb on them. And I need the West to understand something. Bombs kill people. And do you know how they kill people? They incinerate them alive, or their heads explode. So what happened in Israel was a disaster and disgusting. But you have to be equally honest and equally outraged at the immorality of incinerating babies and grandmothers and aunts and uncles, which is what we're doing right now. America cannot keep sending aid for death and destruction. Enough of the occupation. End it today. End it today. It's monstrous. Try to find the hostages. Does it look like Israel's trying to find the hostages? If I have a family member that's a hostage, I'm disgusted by what Netanyahu's doing now. How do you know they're not in the buildings you're dropping bombs on? How do you know they're not in the tunnels you're dropping bombs on? How do you know they're not in the hospitals you're dropping bombs on? So if you want the hostages rescued, every rational human being can agree this is not the way to do it. This is the way to do death and destruction for the sake of death and destruction. It's collective punishment. It's genocide against Palestinians, and the world has to speak out. So my way is not pleasant either. It involves a lot of folks dying on both sides. I understand that. Those are super hard choices. But go find Hamas. Go find the hostages. Go rescue them instead of wantonly, indiscriminately killing after killing. And let's be honest, when you drop a bomb and a kid's head explodes and a grandmother is incinerated, that is terrorism. Killing 3 times as many civilians as Hamas is terrorism. And it is the same if it is done by a government. Send in as many special forces you got. We should send in whatever you got to actually do the job at hand instead of what Netanyahu is doing.
I'm here to say 3 things. First is that I wrote a poem, and I have not published a poem in many years. The second is that I'm fasting for the next 40 days for Palestinians, and not just Palestinians, but also for the people of Sudan who continue to endure war, and for the people of Yemen who continue to die at the hand of the country I live in, and for all of the plights of the oppressed people that I just don't know about or know about too late. I come from a family with a lot of people and a lot of people dead. I'm Sierra Leonean Black American. And something happens to me every time someone else dies, especially prematurely dies from the death machines we have in place, where it re-triggers all of the other grief. So that's what I'm experiencing. So if you would like to join me in fasting, I'm fasting from food and water from sunup to sundown for the next 40 days. The third thing I wanted to say is that my presence on the internet is something I've grown to love. And my purpose here is to help fill in some of the educational gaps, particularly for teenagers that were displaced in their education by COVID. That's what I'm doing here. I'm just going to pull back the curtain for you. So I have a class planned, and I'm gonna teach. But understand, you're not gonna see tea in my videos because I'm fasting. Thank you all for watching. And I hope the work of your day passes through your hands with ease. I'm going to end this portion of the video, and I'm going to pray. And you can address a prayer to whoever you are in community with. Thank you. Baba God, I ask you for rice. I ask you for see you begin. Baba, I ask you for hear you begin. And rise. Baba God, we need to have your soul. And I tell you thank you for this morning. Because now you're going to give me this morning, and you'll give me the next one. Baba God, I ask for safe passage for my whole family, the one way not able for tea up this morning. Baba God, I pray for your peace, and let you be unconditional, generational. Baba God, bring your peace on this earth. And I ask you in the name of you begin. We now you begin. So I ask now your name. Please rise. Amen.
Bro, I tried to make it through I tried to make it through my whole 8-hour shift, bro. And in my last 30 minutes, bro, I just broke down crying to my coworker, bro. Like, bro, this shit is sick, bro. And the fact that niggas are at work while it's going on, like, this shit is sick, bro. This gotta be hell. I woke up in hell. I was born in hell. Like, what?
It is so beyond fucked up. Fucked up. It is so crazy that your parents can work so hard, live in 3 different countries, uproot their entire lives to move to another country, only for you to be a 22-year-old that has to vote on who wants to kill less of your people. Is that really the bar we have to achieve? Vote for whichever candidate will kill the least of us. This is our reality. I have no words. I just watched a video of Democratic candidate Dean Phillips being asked why he hasn't called for a ceasefire. His response to that was to say he was being spoken to in an antagonizing manner. Mind you, the person that asked the question was one of the only black women, if not people of color, in the room, period. And she asked the question in the sweetest, most calm, level-headed manner. I have never been a nihilist, but my faith in humanity...
I just can't shake off how comfortable the world has become with being so racist. I was just reading some like diary entries from Plestia on my For You page. I don't even know how people got them. People can get anything. And this girl, like, these entries are just so much more powerful. Like, I feel like I read Anne Frank's diary, and, you know, it's different because I'm reading a story that has happened before my time. But I'm watching a story unfold in front of my face, and nobody can write the ending. Nobody can write a proper ending for these people. We are just failing these people so much, and there is nothing that we can do but use our voices. But what we're talking, you know, I saw someone say that what we're suggesting is long-term solutions. What are we gonna do now? How are we gonna end the fear now? And all we can do is talk about it and bask in it. And Palestine does not deserve this. I mean, I'm not saying anything new, but I just have to say it again. They don't deserve this. And the world has become so comfortable with being so openly racist. And I just want Palestinians to know that even though, unfortunately, at one point, we will not be able to see their bodies anymore, their story, their spirit, their might, it will be seen forever. I will make sure I will go around. I will never, ever forget what I have witnessed. I will never forget the strength that these people exhibited, because they have exhibited more strength than I have seen in the last 10 years of my living. I promise. Like watching this is so weird.
Well, so I'm glad you brought this up, because this is something that I've been struggling with. I don't want to make it about me. But when it comes to situations like this, I like slip into like nihilism, and I know that's not good, but it's like sometimes I really can't help it. Feeling hopeless is probably a part of the human experience, but it's like at this point I don't know what the fucking human experience is. Because when you have situations like this where humanity isn't valued, or at least not as valued as like capital or other related factors, is disheartening. Like for me personally, I will always care about people, so that will never be in vain for me. Like sometimes you just look on the news, you look around the world, and you just feel away, bro. The last time I felt like this was when the little boy, he was going to pick up his sibling, and he knocked on the wrong door, and he got shot. And I made a video like, bro, this is fucking crazy. It feels like they won already, but they're still fucking with us. And that was a crazy statement in hindsight, but like, I felt so defeated. Oftentimes, like, people will tell me like, oh, you're just like this naive kid. I'm like, what, bro? Fuck you talking about? But sometimes I internalize that, like, and they make me feel a little powerless. But at the same time, I don't want to prove them right. But there are times where I really do feel powerless, and this is one of them. But yeah, that's what's on my mind.
I just watched a Congolese man set himself on fire in hopes to get media attention, and that we'll see him on fire on these phones that's literally facilitating the suffering of Congolese people. Think about how sick and tired and how desperate and anguished you gotta be to set yourself on fire in hopes that it will create media attention about what's happening to your people. When I learned about King Leopold, or I learned about Patrice Lumumba, you feel me? I learned about, you know what I'm saying, all these broken treaties and all these foreign entities that then switched and did Congo like musical chairs. It really made me think, like, damn, this is how slavery was really facilitated for my people right here. Right now in the Congo, they experiencing slavery. I watched this video of a 4-year-old, two 4-year-old little girls in the rain with no shoes, having to go fetch materials to literally mine cobalt, you know what I'm saying, coltan out of the ground. This man set himself on fire in hopes that it would create media attention. And I believe that all of us should be making videos about this, definitely. Make sure this was not done, you feel me, in a way that don't, like, come on, man, like, shit, this shit crazy.
There was something I was like thinking of as I was doing my hair, and I was like thinking that, you know, privilege comes in a lot of shapes and sizes, and there's a lot more privilege than I think people assume there is. People assume privilege as like being in high power and in like high places, but there's privilege in everything. Like, being able to see your family is a privilege. Being able to have a good relationship with your family is a privilege nowadays. Like everything sort of is a privilege, and like people's privileges and people's like basic human rights are being like stripped away from them because people want to be greedy and corrupt. Instead of giving people what they deserve and trading fairly, you decide that you want to take over the whole thing and not give them what they deserve. Like they don't need to be giving you nothing. Like, if we're being honest, like if you ask for something and they say no, then you should be going on your way. But instead you're ruining people's lives, you're taking people out of their homes, you're taking people's kids away from them, you're stripping people of their human rights, of their childhood, of their basic humanity. Like you're stripping everything that it is to be human away from these people, and you're treating them less than animals. Let's be honest, you're treating them less than animals, because even animals you'll treat better than like how you're treating these people. Like, it doesn't, like, like what's going on in Palestine and in Congo and in just like so many parts of the world, like in China, there are people being put in concentration camps. And one of the things that kind of like irks me in a sense is that people, especially in what's happening in Congo, they're calling it a silent genocide. Like, it's not silent. People are being very vocal about it. It's just that people are now listening. It's not silent at all, because people are screaming, people are shouting from the rooftops to be heard and to be like, people are crying out and they're shouting to be heard. They're crying out for anyone who'll listen. And it's like, as much as we can spread awareness and like talk about what's happening, it's like people in power are telling us it's not up to us. Like, we have no say in what happens. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like, no matter how much we protest, like the protests that are happening right now and all the protests that have been happening to call for a ceasefire, and then the government just spits in our faces and it's like, you know what, nah, I'm not doing that. Why would I do that? And it's like, you're telling the world that the country stands with one side, but the country itself is telling you opposite, and you're like, nah, the people don't know what they're talking about. And it's like, my man, you, for every other thing, you're like majority rules, but for this case, you're like, let's not even hear what they have to say and let's do whatever we want. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, I don't know how to articulate myself properly, because the thoughts that I'm feeling and the feelings that I'm feeling, it's like, I don't know, man. Like, just to go back to like the privilege thing, it's like, we all have a privilege. Like, if we want to stop seeing the violence and the corruption that's happening in the world, we can easily just turn our phone off. We can easily just be like, nah, I'm not interested, and never see it again. It's like, these people are living through it every single day. Like, they don't have a chance to turn it off. They can't go home and be like, you know what, I don't even want to listen to what's going on. they're in it. Like,
I don't understand how people can just lack so much empathy, you know? I'm privileged in so many ways where I've never seen firsthand of something so graphic, you know? This week I've seen a kid, his feet was just completely purple. You know, he was crying, and there was a bone stuck out of his foot. I'm privileged in so many, I've never seen this firsthand, and it was very scary to watch, but that's just a few of the many things that, you know, that I've seen on my FYP. Like picking up limbs, body parts, you know? Like little tiny body parts scattered everywhere, and you're picking that up. You're picking that up and you're putting it into bags. That's fucking crazy. That's crazy. And if you watch that and you're like, I support this, you're not human. There's no way in fucking hell that you're human, because they're human just like us. Like, we're all human. How can you say that? How can you say that? And then it's like, and it's most of the time, like, I've seen, like, the people who are saying that are those who are in power, you know, they're wealthy, and it just makes me so sad that money can really change, you know, your whole thing, your whole perspective on things. But I just think that your morals comes first. If you have money and you have, because in this world, money is power, right? If you have money, you should use it to help people, you know? Not to say shit like, oh yeah, just wipe them out. Like, how could you have so much power? How can you say that? Why don't you recognize that they're just all human, you know? Like, I can't, you know, there's no internet, there's no electricity, there's no food, there's no water. How do you live? And the thing where I saw this one post recently that I didn't even think of, was that because there's so much dead bodies, right? They decay, and you know, it's and you know, because they're constantly getting bombed, there's no working bathrooms, and if you have to go, you just have to go. And so the whole place, one posted that how there's just a lot of flies, and you can easily just get in like an infection from this. And they were saying how like the air is just smelling like dead bodies. I don't know what that smells like, because I'm privileged and I've never been through this. I don't even know what that smells like, but I'm sure it's fucking terrible. Yeah, it's just so crazy to me how you can lack so much empathy. How can you lack so much empathy? Like, does money really just make you lack this much empathy? And going back to the point where I made it in a separate post where like celebrities and influencers are not speaking out about this because they're scared to lose brand deals. It's crazy to me, because it's like, you make so much money. You make so much money that I don't think this one brand deal is going to cost you anything. Again, I'm not saying this as a, like, oh, I'm better than other people, but I have turned down brand deals because it doesn't align with my own values, and I wouldn't lie about this. I'm just being completely honest with you guys. And I don't think I make as much as those people who, you know, make so much money. But I personally believe that if you're comfortable, if I'm comfortable, then some of this money is not needed, you know? I just don't think there's ever like a reason for someone to be so fucking rich. Like, as long as you're comfortable and you're able to survive, I think it's fine, you know? You can go into your hobbies, whatever. So it's crazy to me that you're watching all of this shit and then you're like, yeah, no. Yeah, I'm gonna support it because I don't want to lose my brain. You're just not human. You're not human. You're not human. You may look human, but I don't think in here you're human, because that's crazy. Like, how can you watch kids getting killed and you're like, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I don't think you'll be saying that if this shit's happening to you. I don't think you'll be saying that.
I would literally never ever understand how people are so apathetic about a literal genocide. No, actually scratch that. Genocides. And it is so insane, because all of this, and for what? Like, quite literally for what? What is all of this for? It's all about money. It is all about egomaniacs who are in power and don't give a fuck about the lives of people. And the insane thing is, we're the ones giving them power. We, the citizen, as a collective, are the ones who are giving them power. I honestly think it's just time for us to keep these politicians accountable, because at the end of the day, we're the one putting them in position of power. An academic year is cancelled because a bunch of people in power thought it would be a great idea to just ethnically cleanse a whole group of people just because of money, just because they want to build a canal or whatever the fuck it is. What? And they wake up to the realization that their home is gone. They've got nothing to their names anymore. Like, their culture, their lives, everything gone. I would never wish that on my worst enemy. I watched the video about this woman. She was a female doctor and taking care of people who were injured, like Palestinians that were injured, just for her daughter to be brought in a stretcher. And she was literally screaming. She was screaming. This is not just happening in Palestine. It's also happening in Congo. Another thing that has bothered me this whole week is the fact that girls are being raped hourly. I think 50 per hour in Congo. All for cobalt and coltan. All of this just to exploit them of their natural resources. Every single African country in that continent are always exploited of their natural resources. And to use little kids that are supposed to be educated and supposed to be in school, those little kids spend their entire day, very minimal breaks, not enough equipment. They quite literally use their hands to harvest those things. And we're all here taking our little iPhones, being like, oh, let's take a cute little picture. Let's make a little vlog day in a life. What? All of that. We're using our iPhones to do that. But the source of that is the hands and the lives of little kids. Kids that are younger than me. And that is so insane because it's out of their control. They can't do anything. They have to work. It's either you work or you get killed. Even if you work, you might still end up getting killed. And that is so insane. The girls are being raped hourly. As a woman, I'm not okay with that. I can't put my words together. It is so insane to me as to how people can be apathetic right now. Little kids are dying. And that's not going to talk about the girls who are being raped hourly in Congo. Little girls, 13-year-old. A 13-year-old girl. And I just can't help but just think that this world has just turned to quite literal shit. I'm done. Please, guys, I am begging you, do as much as you can to help these people.
Everything in me finally broke. I've been silently grieving with the Palestinian people and every other group of people that are being genocided right now. I'm at work. Oh my God, hold on, let me find my words because I can't. I fucking can't. I don't know how to be normal. I see too much. I understand too much. And my tax dollars, every hour that I put into working for the American society, a portion of that is going over to support the development of genocide. I commend the Palestinian people so much is their unwavering faith. I don't get it. Because the more I look at the reality that we're in, the more I hate God. The more I'm just like, this being that claims they are the creator of all things. Source God, right? Has the ability to make things and break things and with the blink of an eye, destroy things. Can allow such heinous individuals to wreak havoc over the earth, to the very people who make it their life's mission to honor you. To honor you. This is the reason why I am not religious. I am not Muslim. Don't get me wrong. Islam has done a really good job at following me. 2020, one day I woke up with a raging desire to research Islam. Come to find out, it was Eid. It was the day of Eid. So, my connection to what's happening is also personal and personally spiritual. And I'm just like, I want to believe something more, but I look around and the source God just lets anything, the all power just lets anything take place. It's created such an existential crisis in me. Like, one of the biggest protests going on right now was the delay of the ship. And it's a bittersweet thing to realize, because it's like, yeah, cool, it's amazing, you guys are doing everything y'all can, but that delay does not stop murderous intent. All that does is inconvenience them. Now they gotta go around the block in the other direction. They don't care. They're not gonna stop. This is who they are. I feel trapped in this meat suit, in this body, in this form, all this evil, and I don't get it. How is I don't know what one thing's for sure and two things for certain. I'm in the wrong position. I'm in the wrong place. I'm in the wrong world. I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to be a daycare teacher. I'm not. I'm supposed to be out in the fields, because there's just no fucking way I can sit here in that room listening to motherfuckers sing "The Wheels on the Bus Go Round and Round" while my tax dollars are going to go overseas and kill innocent children that deserve to be in that classroom just as much as any other child. And this is a cream of the crop daycare, Montessori base. The owner has a degree in like childhood psychology, something like that. It is a beautiful daycare. So you gotta understand how the duality. I'm thinking about the children in Palestine being bombed day in, day out, while I'm sitting in this room with extremely privileged children. It's fucking with my head, bro. It's fucking with my soul. It's fucking with my soul, dog. And I'm trying not to hate God. I'm trying so hard not to hate them. But oh my God, I don't understand. Why would you let such heinous people exist to harm the very people who are committed to you? I don't get it. And it creates this really aggressive existential state crisis. Mental health people, they can't help me. What are they gonna tell me? If I go try to get help right now, what are they gonna tell me? Oh, just worry about you. And once you get... Shut up! Going into a dissociation episode is actually really fucking scary. Especially when you have anger issues, especially when you have internalized anger where you're willing to take it out on yourself physically. Oh man, that's terrifying, and that's what happened today at work. And I feel like that is the leading factor that will cause me to not, which is probably why I no longer have a job. Unfortunately, my coworker saw me rocking and shaking and hitting myself, unfortunately, because I was just so overwhelmed. The babies were screaming and crying, and she was singing "Wheels on the Bus Go Round and Round," and I'm like, you damn right, my fucking tax dollars are going round and round, sending that ship off, and I just like, I don't know. And I come on TikTok and you guys you know, help me go viral, and you tell me how much of my voice is brilliant and how much we need to expand on the things that I think, and I agree, but I don't know what else to do. I don't know what else to say, because the next position is a position of movement. It's a position of redirection. My story has always been redirect the goddamn dollar. And that's the only thing I could think of, because the monopoly on violence has been funded by the corporations over and over and over and over again. And we get up and we go protest, and then we go home and eat right from Walmart. And I understand boycotting these corporations is difficult because they monopolize basic survival resources, but we gotta do something. We have to do something. Y'all cannot keep commenting on my page and being like, you're so brilliant, and we just do nothing with it. 86,000 views on my last video. We have to do something about it. I cannot. If God put me on this earth to do anything, it is to lead something. It is to shift something, clearly and obviously. I'm going to have to go into deep prayer. And to add a tone of my spiritual practices, I'm an occultic astrologer, okay? Mercury just went into sidereal Scorpio, and I literally told myself day before yesterday, I'm about to get cracked. I'm about to be mentally exposed to things that I didn't even know that I existed. And here we are. I did not expect this to happen. I thought I had everything under control, everything under wraps, everything, you know, tightly knit. But now I'm breaking down. The breakdown is happening way sooner than I thought it would. I told myself this morning and yesterday, something's going to change. For the next 2.5 weeks, I'm going to be exposed to myself in ways that I'm not ready for. As a sidereal Capricorn Mercury and a tropical Mercury in Aquarius, yeah, I knew something was about to shift, and it's happening. I don't know what's next. I don't know what to do. I don't even think I have a job anymore, but fundamentally something's got to shift. Somewhere. If you are in Kansas City or if you're in the Midwest, please comment down below. I would like to connect. I need people who want to do something different. We gotta change this shit, because there's no way I'm gonna survive on this planet with the way shit is moving. Absolutely not. And no one else is. Obviously. The dissociation is real, and I can't. But if not, thank you for listening. Share, comment, subscribe. Whatever it gotta be.
I need y'all to get up. I need y'all to get up. I need y'all to get mad. I need y'all to get angry. I need righteous rage. Do you understand? They are not done. There are already reports that the West Bank is starting to see movement, that they're destroying houses in West Bank in the middle of the night. We are far from done. And while the U.S. government is closed because it's the weekend, we have other options to raise hell in the names of our brothers and sisters around the world that are experiencing atrocities. We do not let humans scream out into the night alone. Get out into the streets and we raise hell in their honor. That's how you honor another human being. There is no other solution to our government's ignoring genocide, global public outcry in opposition to what they're doing. There is no more intellectualism that can be done at this point. Bodies, feeling. It's time to make motherfuckers uncomfortable. We've had enough. Look to history. We have our strategies. We have our boycotts. I don't know if y'all know, but tax resistance is also a form of boycotting. Since our government loves to mismanage funds, Baltimore City sent $8 million to Israel's military. The state of Maryland sent $75 million to Israel's military. Since they don't know how to manage funds, take them the fuck away. But in addition to the boycotts, in addition to tax resistance, in addition to getting radical about election time, y'all will not gaslight me and fearmonger me into voting for the lesser of two evils. Y'all have got me fucked up as a black woman. And matter of fact, I never listened to y'all. I always did what the fuck I wanted to do because I know what it is. It's never been Democrat or Republican. It's always been a two-headed snake. Always. As black and brown people in this country, we always knew that. But we've always tried to do what was best for the collective because that's how community works. As a collective, we have to do a complete overhaul of elections. There needs to be a publicly funded campaign budgets. with a cap. So that way, congressmen can't be influenced from super PACs. But in addition to strategy, presence, bodies, we need to show up. We should be pouring out in the streets now. Not till Monday, not till November the 4th. What's happening to humans? It's happening now. We should be screaming out with them.
I'm not the same person I was, and that's a promise. My whole worldview has changed, my whole perspective, my whole purpose. Like, I'm done being a passive, happy consumer. I'm done being polite. Like, I'm fucking done. The fact that we can see this on video and then all the comments are like, I feel so helpless. What am I gonna do? Why are we like this? Like, why are the people in power so heartless when there's so many of us that are calling for a ceasefire or whatever? Like, it's time to get fucking focused. It's time to do your fucking best every day at everything you fucking do until we're at the very top and until we can fucking do something other than comment like, oh, I'm praying for you or some shit. Like, this is so fucking cyberpunk and ridiculously dystopian. Like, I can't handle this anymore. And I'm so fucking tired of feeling this helpless, this weak. And it's like not even that hard. It's like everything they want you to be, you be fucking opposite. They want you to binge watch, don't watch anything. They want you to be addicted, don't get addicted to anything. They want you to just passively consume, don't passively consume. Ask who wrote this, ask who's on this, ask who's associated with who before you consume something. Like, your opinion and your individuality fucking matters. Change happens at the very base level, and it's time we fucking stop. Like, it's like, I'm done, I'm tired. Like, with the rise of all this happens, everybody's like, I'm not voting in the next election. And then people are like, oh my god, but have you heard of Project 2025? Where's our Project 2025? Why can't they write a 900 fucking page manifesto of how they want to turn this dog pile of a country into a shithole, an oppressive shithole? And where the fuck is our manifesto? Like, we are so fucking lacking. Even our demands are so pathetic. Like, we're demanding for a ceasefire. Please stop firing. And then what? And then what? Literally, and then what? Who's gonna fix that damage? Who's gonna provide the mental health care? Who's gonna bring back the hospitals and the fucking... Like, there's so much rebuilding need to be done, and they're trying so hard to pacify us. And that pacifying comes from your everyday little habits that you do. Like, we have to start facing our fucking demons, because it's like, I'm done. I'm so done thinking of myself and not thinking of, like, the whole world. And, like... oh, but you can't fix the whole world. No, but I can fucking fix my block. And that's what I'm gonna fucking do. I can fix my own life. And I just don't know. Like, there's nothing else to do. If there is something that you can really excel at, if there is some way that you can fix your life or become stronger, we really have to fucking do it. Like, we need people with empathy at the top. Like, I'm done with this whole thing. Like, I can't, I just, like, we deserve so much better. They deserve so much better. And this world, this soil that we walk on every fucking day deserves so much better than us. And the thing is, we exist. People with hearts and minds and critical thinking exist. And there's, like, I don't know what went wrong. I don't know what went wrong, where the wrong people are in power, but it needs to fucking stop. So if you have a heart, and if you have empathy, and you have a mind, and you can read, you really need to start sharpening yourself up, because this world needs us. They need us. Like, you think it's gonna end in Gaza, dude? Like, I've seen, like, 3 American white dudes in their 50s talk about World War III. They're talking about military words that I don't even understand. They said they watched Tucker Carlson last night and some other McGregor dude talking about some shit, and they really think that World War III is gonna happen. If the white American dudes, the 50-year-old dudes, if they're fucking talking shit about that, they don't know nothing except about war and their veteran friends. They don't know anything but that. Something is fucking brewing, and we have to be ready. We literally cannot give up. Does anyone else feel like this horrible sense of clarity? Before a couple weeks ago, honestly, my life was kind of aimless. I picked my major because I was good at it. I picked my first job because it paid pretty well. I left my first job because it got really bad, and I've just kind of been drifting since. But now I think I've discovered what I want to do with my life. And it's to stop this bullshit from ever happening again. I just want to take whatever talents I have and use them to make the world a better place, because I don't think I can take seeing this ever again. And honestly, I thought I was like a reasonably engaged citizen before. I mean, I read the news, I voted, I tried to like build local community and at least advocate for causes that I thought were right. But now I'm realizing that what I've done has been painfully minimal. I mean, I have nothing but respect for the Palestinians who've been fighting for their freedom and their country and their people for decades now, because it's so frustrating screaming out your advocacy even now when the world's attention is on Palestine. I can't imagine how hard it was before everyone was awake to the truth. It's not our fault that we inherited a fucked up world, but it's our responsibility to fix it. So I think all of us have to take whatever we're good at, whatever we love doing, and use that to fix this mess.
Like, this isn't fucking normal. Last night was indeed my breaking point. I was on Motaz's Instagram story, and I was roaming the web as you do, hoping for good news, like hoping to see that there was a ceasefire. What I saw instead was... I found my way to Motaz Aziza's Instagram. He is a live photographer on the grounds of Gaza, of Palestine now. He got out of Gaza, thank goodness. Enduring the horror of war. In his story, I see him pulling people out from under the rubble, video logging his day, and then shaky footage of him running to an ambulance, quickly turning corners to bear witness to blood, brutality, limp bodies, and screams. I cannot describe how I felt as the story closed, that being his last post of the day. I turned onto my side and I cried, blah blah blah. After crying, I stayed up for hours, feeling the anxiety, the fear, and the lingering feeling of unsafety that thousands of Palestinians feel much stronger every day. I woke up today. I am still here. So I've kind of reached a point where I've decided I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to continue feeding the machine. I am 21 and I'm already so tired. I'm thinking about what I can do, because the past few nights I've been making a painting and it's not done yet. Here it is. And I'm like, this can't be all that I can do. Protest has to be disruptive. I am in college right now, and I am in college putting thousands of dollars into the machine, hoping to get out, have my degree, and continue working for the machine that is causing this. Because I know once I get my job and I start paying taxes, my tax money goes directly into the military, and the military goes directly to the Middle East and does what it does. So I'm sitting here out of makeup, out of costume, out of character, to tell you that I'm done. For the next few assignments and exams, my professors will be getting the same Word document, and it'll be a list of grievances. I can't keep doing this. I'm not feeding the machine. I'm not doing this. The document will say my thoughts on the Israel-Palestine conflict in depth, and I will add that calling my representatives won't do anything, so I will also not do anything. I am going to lose my student aid. The thing that I've been working on for the past 15 years of schooling, I'm just not gonna have it anymore. They won't see a single dollar from me, but they're gonna keep on getting that letter. The part that sort of gets me is what now? Like, what do I do now? The answer to that is I will count my blessings, because I'm in a comfortable bed right now with AC and the fan is going. I see the sunlight, I see trees, and my house is still standing. There's a park nearby, there's a cafe nearby, there's movie theaters, there's arcades, there's thousands of games that I haven't played yet that I would love. You can't count your blessings without using them. So I'm going to use them, and I'm going to stop feeding the machine. I've had enough. Imagine it's that simple. You just stop doing it and you enjoy life with no strings attached. Crazy thing is, it's probably that simple, because I have the blessing of living in a country that isn't riddled with war.
It's kind of crazy how different life is in Palestine versus here at the capital in DC. I mean, we see it on our phones every day. Niggas are dying left and right in Palestine, Sudan, Yemen, the Congo. All the people of America just vibing out, looking forward to Halloween, having a fun little Marine Corps marathon, celebrating the Imperial Stormtroopers. For what? So the ruling class can make a couple extra bucks? So we can look at ha-has on our phones all day, losing the essence of life more and more as time goes on, never once truly resisting and breaking free? Sure, we have our little protests a couple times a week. We march and scream that we'll shut it down, but ultimately, afraid to sacrifice the precious little we have left, we hold on tight to our comfort and go home for the night as the bombs continue to rain down on Gaza, just as the ruling class wants us to do. I mean, think about it. How could we ever truly save Palestine if we can't even save ourselves? And I'm not talking just a ceasefire. I mean true liberation, decolonization, and freedom from capitalism for all around the world. The only way is to sacrifice all we have, to put everything on the line and come together, supporting one another as we fight so we can finally create the world that we were always meant to live in. I was losing my mind trying to push down these feelings, trying to just keep getting by, waiting for everything to change. Until finally I decided that I'm taking control of my life, and I'll do everything I can to bring about this change, even if I'm alone. The spark has been ignited. My soul is on fire. And one day soon, I hope yours is too.
I've reached the point where I'm just gonna allow myself to go insane. And I don't mean Western psychology insane. I mean tapping into all aspects of my humanity, tapping into my anger, tapping into my discomfort, and expressing that outwardly. I know that on social media, people are getting the gist of what's going on, but in real life, I don't know, the juxtaposition between the interactions I have in real life and the interactions that I have on social media, I think it's showing me that people just don't know how to put strong politics into practice. Why are we talking about Halloween? I don't think that we are undeserving of joy in moments like these, but life is literally defined by where our attention goes. People in Gaza have literally lost internet connection, cannot post to social media, and we have social media. We have the privilege to post. But we're gonna continue to talk about Halloween. I really don't want to hear shit about Thanksgiving in a month. I want to align myself with people that already get it, because I am past the point of trying to get people to see the humanity of other people. I wish that I had more space for conflict resolution with people that are not on the same page as I am, but not everybody can be saved, unfortunately. I'm in no way suggesting that I'm anything like Harriet Tubman, but when she was freeing slaves, some of them got left behind. We have to stop worrying about how we look, and we have to start worrying more about what we're gonna do. I currently believe that our money is going to really shake the table, but if we take it back to Black Lives Matter, like, people were doing a lot more in the streets. We have to be able to tap into our anger. We have to be able to realize that anger is a form of self-protection. It's still important to interrogate and look at a situation more holistically, but at the end of the day, the more that we suppress our anger, the more that we suppress our need for change, the longer this shit is gonna take.
There is no revolution without insanity. If you feel like you're watching the state of the world right now and losing your mind, good. The world as it exists right now is somebody else's imaginings in entirety, specifically white genocidal media. Everything that we think about what is reasonable was made up by them. I keep seeing being tagged in videos about people crying, breaking down, saying that they're just ready to go insane or stay in insanity because they see the weight of the world and they can't return to whatever normal was. Good. Let the grief burn you alive. Because that's what revolution is. Revolution is to call for death. It's to say, I cannot continue such that I would rather die. More than that, while we pontificate about what it means to revolt around everything that we've ever known, because everything that we've ever known, every part about living in the core of the empire is about extraction from other parts of the world. We also have to think about world making. What is the world that we would rather live in? What's the world that come after this? It requires a lot of radical creativity, just as it requires radical action. How to Go Mad Without Losing Your Mind is a phenomenal read about this. And if you can't commit to reading the whole book because you haven't read a book in years, I wrote you an essay. Yes, you specifically. Reading is a thing. Please do it. Signed, somebody that feels this crazy all the time. Have a good one.
I got arrested for the first time yesterday. At first, the police officer asked me to step on the sidewalk, away from the marathon runners, so we could talk. Why should I yelled back. You can't demonstrate on the street, he said. I was filled with rage. You care more about the fucking street than the Palestinians that are getting murdered every day? Was I the one that was wrong to see this for the depraved truth that it was? No. I stood my ground. The black police officer who looked around my age came closer. He reminded me of my older brother. If you keep doing this, you're gonna get arrested. For what? What have I done wrong? He looked at me with a straight face and said, demonstrating and combobulating or whatever the fuck bullshit, as though it was clearly the true crime that was being committed in that moment. Then arrest me, I told him. And for a brief moment, I thought I saw his stern expression shift into that of genuine confusion, as he wondered why I would possibly get arrested for this. If I wanted to voice my condemnation, I should just march with everyone else. Was he wrong for arresting me as I stood there alone among thousands of people, pleading for them to stop for 1 second and consider that as innocent people were being murdered, supported and funded by the people in the building that loomed above us, we were running a fucking marathon for the foot soldiers that enact this violence upon the world? What are we doing? His cop buddies circled around me and stood, all watching me for a moment as I continued my cries. And I wasn't fully conscious of it at the time, but I had reached a final decision point. Concede and be relegated to the sidewalk like they asked, where I'm out of the way to scream as a bystander, or to take a stand in the street and demand their attention, as it was much easier to ignore the people on the other side of the world. The police, ultimately remembering what they were there for, decided it was time to get the job done. As they grabbed a hold of me and carried me off to the sidewalk to begin the first of many search procedures, one of them tried to speak to me with compassion about the situation. The good cop. While the others restrained me, and he watched. Some of them tried to explain to me how it didn't have to be this way. Some made fun little quips, all of them trying so hard to be human, while behind them, the runners ran on. Most of them looked away, for if they didn't see me, maybe I wasn't there. Maybe having taken the look that they knew they wanted when I couldn't see them. I watched some steal glances, making eye contact with a hint of sadness, all of them determined not to break their stride. As I was arrested for having the audacity to say maybe we are wrong, for merely standing amongst a crowd of runners, my skateboard painted with the Palestinian flag held proudly in the air as they funded and were complicit in a genocide so they could run along in their imaginary world where all was fine. But I was the criminal. What a world we live in. They threw me in the cop car and off we went, the runners that had just arrived never knowing what had taken place. Interestingly enough, my older brother called me that night, as though he had felt his presence in my thoughts throughout the day. Without saying hello, he asked me furiously, "Why are you on the Secret Service watch list?" "What are you talking about?" I asked, not believing him. "I'm looking at it right now." Could he be telling the truth? I thought to myself. Growing frustrated after some back and forth, not getting any straight answers, I said bye and hung up the phone, filled with anxiety. I'd always figured I would end up on somebody's watch list, or I'd have been living my life wrong. But so soon? Yet beyond that, I was anxious because I knew that I couldn't stop going forward. I had finally seen it. The life I could submit myself and return to with shame was no life at all. So as I sit here in their front yard, day and night, sleeping underneath the stars, filled with bliss that I'm no longer running the rat race which had been set out for me, giving my all to bring people together so we may fight for our liberation and their downfall. Who will get to me first? You or them? Yeah, I almost thought I was lying when I said I'm out here every single night, and welcome to day 10, a beautiful day. We have reached quite literally freezing temperatures, yet my heart is so warm. So let us not forget why we are fighting so hard for the people of Palestine and the oppressed around the world,
This is a mission of love, love for people we will never meet, because as humans we feel such compassion for others. Try as this system made to numb us so we do not feel for these families, sow confusion and push us away from one another, take from everyone all that is good, creating a void to fill with material things that will never suffice. We will always be able to find our way back, for that love that we are born with will never die if we are willing to rekindle the flame. But it is not enough simply to love from afar, for love is sacrifice, and as we hold on to the materialistic things we have been taught to hold dear, we will be further removed from that love that has infinite depth, slowly carried by the tide of capitalism back to shallow waters, where we can only offer consolation, prayers, and donations, failing to remember that we can act, first as individuals and then as a community. So let us be the first to cast aside all that we don't need, take economic and social action, control our money, time, and attention, for that is all they see in us. My last video covers exactly what we can do individually as we move towards building the community they sought to destroy. Let us all be the light, for light is also a feeling, like I feel the sun on my face right now, and we can use that light to find each other. I will continue to be here all day and night so as not to once more forget the struggles of the people that have been cast aside in our community, in Gaza, and all around the world. So I urge you to find your comforts that have become a prison and release them to make room for love, striking back against the system and its beneficiaries, for they have stepped on us for far too long and in their arrogance climbed too high. They cannot survive without us, but we will only thrive without them.
Palestinian people can be queer. Queer Palestinians exist. I figured I'd start by saying that because the amount of comments and DMs I've received saying, why do you support Palestine? They wouldn't support you. They wouldn't accept you because you're gay. And a whole bunch of other homophobic and transphobic things. It's almost like they forgot that there are queer people in Palestine. One of my mutuals said it best. I'm going to tag him below. The fight for liberation is unconditional. It doesn't exclude queer Palestinians. So if you're getting online talking about hashtag free Palestine and you're actively homophobic and transphobic, you are not advocating for and supporting all Palestinian people. You can't pick and choose which Palestinians you support and which you don't, which ones you feel deserve to live and which you don't. So if you're gonna stand for Palestine, stand for all of Palestine. The last video I posted is a duet of one of my mutuals reading from this website called Queering the Map, highlighting and amplifying the voices of queer Palestinians. And I feel like we should continue doing that because there's a lot. Please correct me in the comments if I mispronounce any of the names mentioned in any of these stories. The place where you died. Even though we were only pen pals, I love you to my core. 5 years of the best friendship. Ahmad died of the airstrike. You died of heartbreak. Khalid, I love you. I love the way you came out to me, how you came out to you, how you introduced Ahmad as your boyfriend. I wanted to share your hurts with me, but we're seas apart. I'll free Palestine just for your eyes. I hope you rest well in heaven. Kiss Ahmad all you want and be very happy. In this life or another, I'll follow you, and we can unite. I love you to Icarus and beyond. This is where I first fell for you. It was 2021, the last major Israeli bombardment on Gaza. You never knew you were the reason I first listened to my favorite bands or watched Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Everything comes back to you. Now you're a student abroad, and Israeli occupation bombs may take everyone and everything you ever loved away. Your mom, your home, your memories. I am so sorry the world failed you. That your mom, sister, best friends, everything is lost in this genocide. A gay Palestinian man in Gaza, hated by people for being gay and hated by the Israelis for being Palestinian, I am so lost and alone. It always felt like I would have to give up parts of my identity to exist and that I would never be accepted by anyone. But I know and I have realized that I have to stay strong, to fight for my rights not only as a gay person here, but as a gay Palestinian person. I will choose parts of my identity. I have found peace within myself, and now I've realized that I have to be strong. Free Palestine, LGBTQIA+ rights for everyone, everywhere. Be strong, everyone. Don't give up.
The more articles I read about this situation, the more I get so mad. Every single article I read has no regard for the lives of the miners nor the lives of the drivers who transport these things. They're all talking about how the world's global green energy is on a halt. Somebody, like, what? You guys went there and displaced a bunch of, in fact, millions, let me not just use nonsense, millions of Congolese people from their houses, dug up their backyards, destroyed their homes, creating mudslides and literal climate problems. And then you now tell these Congolese people who are not supposed to be mining with their hands toxic cobalt that you're not supposed to touch, nor are you supposed to breathe. You have them mining this and you pay them $1 a day. Then the drivers themselves have their lives endangered because now that you've destabilized the country, there's literal bandits now who know that, okay, so now copper and cobalt is precious. So now the drivers who are transporting this are also in danger of getting robbed and killed. And all of that, you're glossing over the fact. Why are they not discussing their lives like it's important? Why do they keep talking about this dirty $700 extra incentive like that's even a reasonable, like what? I don't care if the strike has stopped that. In fact, they should end it all. I'm so fucking mad. The absolute disregard for their lives, bro. The absolute, look at how much Congo gives the world of cobalt last year. Look at how much. This is fucking insane.
It is important to understand that support for the freedom and liberation of Palestinian people is not just about what Israel is doing to Palestinians in Gaza and in the West Bank. I went to a protest a couple days ago, and a lot of the chants included the names of other countries that have experienced occupation, that have experienced being under the boot of imperialism and colonialism. Like, when we call for the freedom of Palestinians, we are calling for all of the chains to be broken, all of the walls to be broken, and even extending further than people that inhabit countries that are being occupied to all humans in cages. There are so many people in cages. There are so many people in places where they don't have freedom of movement, and that is inhumane. The US is the mass incarceration capital of the world. We have so many people in cages here. So many people who, even upon receiving their freedom, will have very limited access to movement, to information, to resources, to capital. So we are fully in abolitionist territory when we say that people do not deserve to be occupied or imprisoned by a superpower. All the walls must come down. And if the occupation of the Palestinians has taught us nothing, it has taught us that a big part of the pro-Israel, pro-Zionist campaign is dehumanization. It's relying on other human beings, not seeing other human beings as human beings that are deserving of their full human rights. Every human has the right to self-determination, not just people of occupying forces or colonial forces. Like, I hear so much about Jewish sovereignty, but do not all humans have a right to sovereignty over something that is theirs, that will not be taken or invaded, or better yet, destroyed? And this is why there is such an effort to suppress our voices, to imprison us, to snuff us out, because this is bigger than the liberation of Palestinian people, even though that is at the core of this movement right now. It is calling for the restoration of human rights and dignity to every single human being, and calling attention to the fact that one group is going all around the world, oppressing and squashing and destroying and erasing other groups of people. And again, we're not thinking of colonization, gentrification, imperialism as violence, but it is. And when you impose that level of terror and violence on people, there is no olive branch kumbayaing out of it. It's only violence that has to be met with violence at that point. So this movement is so much bigger than us. It is us. We are parts of a whole. We are a human organism together, and we need to keep that at the forefront of our minds when we are screaming, free, free, free Palestine. We are calling for the freedom of all human beings.
Do you know what one of the most frustrating things about the situation in Congo is? It's that it doesn't have to be this way. Like, it doesn't have to. You can just fairly trade with a country for their natural resources. And this is why I don't ever want you to listen to somebody when they tell you, leave the past in the past. Because the way that the world trades with Africa is exactly the same way they treated Africa from the 1600s and before. They cannot see the global south as humans or equal or worth having fair trade with. And so they exploit and they marginalize and they colonize and they dehumanize because they don't see us as equal. There is absolutely no reason that the global north cannot just fairly trade with the global south other than the fact that they don't want to, because they don't see us as human beings. Frustrating things about the situation in Congo is it's that it doesn't have to be this way.
No, like, this is the most annoying part. Same thing with what's happening in Sudan. I'm going to speak for the United States, but if the United States respected people from the global south, we literally could just trade for the cobalt and then the coltan. It's free Congo, free Palestine, free Sudan, free Haiti, free Puerto Rico, free Hawaii. Because all of these issues are interconnected. All about greed and a lack of respect.
Genuinely, I question where we as a society are at. We are not progressive in the least, because what we are watching is colonialism, imperialism, white supremacy. The same evil that created slavery is the same evil at work right now. You cannot tell me that you support the Israeli government and what they're doing and then call yourself a humanitarian and say that you want peace in the same sentence. You are literally just as bad as the people doing this. Get the fuck out of my face.
Yeah, we all are. And that's kind of by design. And I understand. I really, really do. But at what point does this weight start belonging to you? Is it when the oppression is more tangible in your country? Is it when it's people that look like you who are being murdered? Or does it have to make it all the way to your house before the weight is yours? And I'm not coming for you. I really do understand what it is like to be absolutely overwhelmed by the circumstances of your own life. I understand that. But at what point does this weight belong to you? Because once again, black and brown people have to carry the weight, and everyone else gets to choose whether or not they have space for it or whether or not they're too overwhelmed. For some reason, we don't get to be too overwhelmed to carry it. And at some point, I need everyone to realize that the reason we don't get to be too overwhelmed to carry the weight is because we are not comfortable in our oppression. And I want to talk about that for a minute. And once again, I'm not coming for you. This is not an attack on you as an individual, but I want to communicate something that I think matters. Chances are that at some point you've heard a black person say that none of us are free until all of us are free. You've heard that, right? Well, we mean it. Our liberation is tied to the liberation of Palestinians. It's tied to the liberation of Jewish people. It's tied to the liberation of the disabled. It's tied to the liberation of children. It's tied to the liberation of women, to the LGBTQ community and indigenous people around the world. It's tied to the end of patriarchy and xenophobia and homophobia and misogyny. It's tied to the end of racism. It's tied to all of it. Our liberation is dependent on all oppression coming to an end, on the structures that empower oppressors to oppress ending. Which means that if we are unwilling to allow our oppression as a community to continue, we have to accept the weight of the fight for everyone's freedom. Which brings me back to the question, at what point does the weight become yours? Because you yourself don't get to experience real liberation until the rest of us do. So are you waiting for all of our fights to be over? Are you waiting for us to get to yours before you enter the fight? Is that when the weight becomes yours? Because if I'm being honest with you, that's the way that white leftists have been fighting. You have been waiting for the fights and the conversations that affect you and leaving the rest of us to die in our oppression. And it's not working. I understand what it means to be overwhelmed, and I understand what it means to be unable to pick up any more weight. But the weight is already yours too. And that's what I need everyone to understand. The weight is already yours too. Whether you accept it, whether you help in that fight, whether you press back against those oppressive systems, whether you lend your voice to this cause, the weight is already yours too. Because you are not free until Palestine is free.
I don't have allyship fatigue. I don't have boycott fatigue. I'm fatigued of genocide. I have genocide fatigue. I have colonization fatigue. I'm tired of all of these negative things. I'm not going to be manipulated into thinking that caring for other people is bad and it exhausts you. The things that exhaust me about caring for people is not caring for people. It's all of the things that make it difficult for me to continue to care for people the ways that I would want. The things that make it hard for me to care about myself the ways that I would want. Those are the things that fatigue me. It's not the care. Being a good person and recognizing and trying to recognize other people's humanity, that does not exhaust me. The people who are dehumanizing other people, that exhausts me. We need to be really mindful about language. Like, our brains are always making associations, and I just don't want to reinforce this idea that allyship and community and humanity and the care of it, the responsibility that we have, and connect that with this kind of exhaustion, the kind of weariness that you feel in your bones, right? Like kind of that kind of feeling defeated. I don't want, that's not what community, and that's not what a love and a reverence and a respect for humanity is to me. And another like last random note for people who are saying that they have to look away for their mental health, I do think that ignoring a genocide negatively impacts your mental health.
Tell me that's normal. It's not normal for children to be tried in military courts. It's not normal for checkpoints to decide where people can go and where they can't. It's not normal for ordinary boys and girls to grow up under an open-air prison. That's not normal. And we here in the UK, we marched to end apartheid. We marched to stop climate change. We marched for peace and justice and freedom and equality all over the world. And so why not also for the Palestinians? Why not also for people, even if they are 1,000 miles away, they bleed blood just like us, they breathe air just like us, they have hopes and dreams just like us. So tell me that you can hear of injustice like this and not take a stand, that you can hear of injustice like this. Free Palestine indeed. To close, we know that the people of Manchester stand up for justice. Indeed. We know the people of Manchester stand up for equality. We know the people of Manchester believe in democracy, and if you believe in democracy, if you believe in equality, if you believe in justice, then it's your duty. It's not just a choice, it's your duty to stand up for those who stand up for themselves and for those who can't. That's your duty as a human being. To not let your other brothers and sisters, just because they might look different to you, just because they might practice a different religion, to suffer. It's on us to alleviate the suffering of people all over the world. So everybody who hears this message has a duty to stand up for justice. And the best time to stand up for justice was yesterday. But if you're awake and you're alive today, the second best time is right now.
I've never realized how depressing knowledge is. I mean, I have, but like I didn't really deep how like traumatically depressing it is until like I got off the phone call with my mom. So I was on a long ass phone call with my mom telling her about, you know, political issues and whatever, and I brought up Congo to her. And when we talked about, you know, the slavery that is going on in Congo, my mom was just so agitated. She asked me for the article title and she was reading it on the phone, and she was just like, oh my gosh, I don't want to know about this. Don't send things like this to me again. This is so crazy. Why is this happening to them? This and that. And she was so agitated. She got off the phone. I think she's still reading it, but I just realized that the things that I know invokes that like sort of traumatic, and like I don't want to hear this emotion. And somehow, I don't know, I feel like maybe that's what's happening to the rest of us in, I don't know, African nations or as Black people. But I feel like that is so necessary for us to have, so we can all have a collective outcry. I'm sorry that people don't believe in African unity. I understand that, but at least let us have a collective outcry. We all know that we're not inhumane beasts that don't care about each other, but we're so used to hearing about numbers that we literally don't think that these numbers are real people that have real life, that are just like us, who call their moms, who call their dads, who go to school. And even though it was sort of a cruel thing that I did, I forced that picture into my mother's head so that she realizes that we need to just not keep dismissing things because it's like, oh, it's numbers and it's far away, I don't care. Like, those people are real, like me having this phone with you, talking to you. I don't know, this video is really long because I'm just rambling and I don't know, I'm everywhere. But one thing I just have to say is that we as Black people need to have a collective outcry for injustices that are happening, because we shut things out that don't directly concern us. We're so unaware of the atrocities that are happening. My mom was just so shocked that in 2023 that's what's happening in Congo, and we are not hearing it in the news. People are not talking about it. Everyone is just going about their daily lives like it's literally not happening. And I fully understand that sense of helplessness that comes after knowing, like, okay, what the fuck am I going to do now? what you can do is simply spread awareness. I'm telling you, the outrage that you feel, somebody else will feel it. And if that person spreads it and it keeps spreading, it will get to somebody who can be outraged and do something. Or it can force people to want to get to a point of where they can do something. If we keep having this pessimistic attitude of, oh, who even cares? What's even going to happen? Who's even going to do anything? We won't have gotten to this point in history where I'm literally comfortable wearing a bonnet, holding a phone, coming online in a space where everybody can see my videos regardless of race. Like, yeah, I'm still being followed around in the store, but like, I can go to a store with other white people there. I, as a Nigerian person, I'm not even living in my own country. I'm in another country. So it's like that is progress if you don't understand where we've been coming from. And if we keep this pessimistic attitude of, oh, what's really going to happen? Times were more depressing. Like, times were literally more depressing. These people couldn't even communicate with each other. And yet we are where we are today. I feel like we just need to stop having this helpless attitude of, oh, we're going to keep crying about it, even if that's all we can do. Until someone hears us or until we hear ourselves, we'll keep crying. Because I don't know why we dismiss issues so easily. We don't talk about it. We don't think back to those people and how they're feeling or things like that. Or maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm not well. Maybe I'm not well. But like that thing, it gets to me, you know, like I imagine myself, like, imagine me sleeping, because I've lived in Nigeria. I know how crazy it is. Imagine me just sleeping, and they come and drive me out of the house, and they demolish my house, and then they come and tell me, oh, come and mine here for $1.50 a day. Hello? We need to get sensitized about our issues again. We're desensitized to our issues. That's the summary of this.
I'm proud of your passion. I'm proud that you educate yourself. I'm proud that you changed my mind. And I'm sorry it took so long.
Thank
you. I'm proud and arrogant. It was an arrogant stance to take, and I got really defensive because I just felt like I was being attacked and attacked and attacked, and that there wasn't room for me to change my mind. But I have, and you did it.
Bar Association President Rena Workman released a statement saying, in part, Israel bears full responsibility for this tremendous loss of life. Rena joins us now. Thank you so much for being here. You say that you're now on the receiving end of a harassment campaign. Explain what you mean by that.
Yeah, so I think that the backlash against me and the consequences that I faced have been well documented. But I think it's important to note that right now we're using this backlash as a big distraction from what's really going on, and that's the genocide happening in Gaza. And I think we should all really be focused on calling for a ceasefire and ending the violence that we're seeing playing out right now.
If you were to redo the letter, obviously with the benefit of hindsight, anything you would have done differently?
I think I will continue to speak up for Palestinian human rights and use whatever platform I have available to me to call for a ceasefire and, you know, end this occupation that's harming the Palestinians.
I'm going to just try one more time. Would you change anything, even the timing of it? Because some people felt it was too soon because your letter came before Israel even launched any kind of retaliation.
I think it's important to note that the genocide happening right now did not start on October 7th. It started over 75 years ago. And that was what my message was intended to get across, was that we are seeing violence happening that is part of a much larger structural violence system that is happening in Palestine right now.
Do you condemn Hamas's actions on October 7th?
I think what I use my platform for and who I condemn was pretty clear by my message, and I think that I will continue to condemn apartheid and military occupation, and that in this moment I'm focused on calling for an end to genocide and calling for an immediate ceasefire.
Do you think that in this space that we're in right now, there's room to have empathy for the Israelis who lost their lives, who were brutalized, who were raped, and also empathy for the Palestinians who are similarly losing their lives?
Yeah, I think right now, if you turn on any mainstream channel, you'll see the stories of Israelis on every screen you look to. And so I think for me, I will continue to use my platform to uplift the voices of Palestinians and the struggles they're going through, because right now we have over 5,000 Palestinian lives lost, and they are asking us and begging us to share their stories, and that's what I will continue to do.
Do you have empathy for the Israeli victims?
I think whether or not my empathy goes to Israelis or to Palestinians is really not the question here. What the question is will we call for an end to this genocide, and will we call for a ceasefire?
Rena, we thank you so much for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Behind me is a list of names of Palestinians that's been killed in Gaza since October 7th. Nobody on this fucking list made it to the age of 4. Not one. So listen, I know if you fucking human, you're gonna feel somebody saying this shit. It's not complicated. Don't let nobody tell you that shit. It's not. So listen, I'm gonna give y'all something to do, alright? Cause I know I just presented y'all with an emotion. Y'all wanna do some shit with it. Go to this fucking website right now. Please. Call your reps. Demand a fucking ceasefire. If you don't got service, take a picture, write it the fuck down, all right? So how you go back to the names. Can y'all say free Palestine? Can y'all say free Palestine? I love y'all so much, I'm out.
Write, create, speak, express in any fucking way you can. Because if you don't, they will do it for you. I'm sure you all have heard the quote, the villain will always be the villain if the hero tells the story. For the first time in history, we have the ability to shift the fucking narrative. And you have no idea how powerful that is. You have no idea how powerful your experience is, your truth is. The evidence of what is taking place in our world and has taken place for so long is slowly but surely becoming irrefutable. And I just want to let you know the change will not be immediate, but it is imminent.
I've observed that every human being within this life will be victimized in some way or another. And at one point, they will call out an injustice that has happened to them. Because this world isn't built on fairness, this world isn't built on equity, and it's not built on equality either. As privileged as you may look at someone at some point in their life, at some point within their ancestry, at some point within their story, they will be victimized, they will be villainized, they will be demonized, and they will be treated unfairly. And usually, humans are very good at calling it out. They're very good at bringing social change towards these things. Women for centuries within this patriarchy have called out and will call out men for the injustices that they've done to them, as is accurate. Same with people of color towards white people and white supremacy. Queer people towards the straight people, the cis people, towards heteronormativity within itself and gender roles and whatever. The pillar of change, the pillar of humanity is based off calling out injustice. My question is, why is it that people feel so comfortably calling out injustices that happen to them, and ignore that of other people? Some will even use their own trauma, use their own demonization, will use their own stigma to weaponize it against another group of people. I'm sure you're thinking, where is this leading to? Obviously Palestine, and obviously every single injustice that exists within the center and whatever of this world. But I find it most fascinating within this scenario. It's funny to watch. Not funny to watch as in people are dying. It's funny to see the inconsistency, the hypocrisy, and how cruel human beings can be and how we can ignore the pain of others. And the point is, there will be a time and point where you will be faced with injustice. And I hope that you remember that when you have ignored the plight, when you've ignored the struggle of another, I hope that rings in your ear. And to me, I hope that you see it as the karma that you deserve.
What I'm trying to understand, first of all, is we're saying free Palestine, like free the people. What is Israel fighting for? I mean, didn't slaves used to say free me? And then there was a group of people that used to say, no, we're not freeing you. And like, let's be real. The people who are supporting Israel, 90% of them are Caucasians. Free Palestine, I have never seen a more diverse group of people everywhere around the world. Like, I'm talking about around the world is yelling Free Palestine. Free Palestine.
To Western powers and Western leaders, one tiny thing you forgot about us, about my generation, is that we are the children of immigrants and refugees. And some of us are immigrants and refugees ourselves. So of course we're going to recognize when other people are being oppressed, because we recognize oppression. We recognize when genocide is happening. And you best believe that my children's children and their children's children, they're never going to forget about this. We are never going to stop talking about this. I'm going to pass this history, this truth, onto every single generation that comes after me. Because the fight for liberation, the fight for justice, that's encoded into my blood. My ancestors and my family members didn't die for nothing for me to not speak up when injustice occurs. So while you may be able to erase history from our history books like you have in the past and rewrite history in which it favors you, you best believe that you will never be able to erase history from our blood. From every single person that has witnessed the atrocities that you have committed today, we will never forget. You have created an entire generation and future generations of radicals. So don't come around and act all shocked when we decide to fight back, when we decide to show resistance towards the evil, vile government that has made us and our families refugees and immigrants because you destabilized our home countries, our economies. Don't act all surprised when we have finally had enough of your BS and is no longer willing to tolerate any of it, because we are fed up. Just as how I haven't forgotten about the atrocities that America has committed onto my father's family in Vietnam, yeah, you best believe we will never forgive, nor will we forget.
So Western pro-Israel propaganda is not working on young people, and they are well aware of this, and they are scared shitless. Listen to these leaked clips from the director of the Anti-Defamation League. Now, the core problem here, in my brain at least, is that I don't think there's a messaging strategy that will work on the majority of young people in this country. Because of our lived experiences and the lived experiences of our parents and our grandparents and so on top of the fact that we've had family that survived settler colonialism, genocide, ethnic cleansing, the works, we also have family that has survived oppressive regimes and state violence in the aftermath of Western colonialism. And if despite being a contributing factor to those oppressive regimes, the West was like, actually, we're gonna bomb the fuck out of you to save you from yourselves, we wouldn't like that very much, because trust, they've done enough. And that's the context I'm most familiar with, which is East Africa. If you go across the ocean to South America, you see the number of times the U.S. has been like, actually, you don't know what's good for you. We know what's best for you, and we're going to arm a bunch of dictators and train them, and then have them take over your governments and oppress you for a very long time. Case in point, Operation Condor. So that lived experience, in my opinion, is like the primary reason. Secondarily, Gen Z is set to be the most educated, the most college-educated generation, and has the highest share of parents out of previous generations that are college-educated as well. Which means, not only are we in classes that teaches us more than the American education system and K through 12 would teach us, we also have access to scholars and university libraries that have articles on anything and everything we could ever want to read. And this isn't like to pat us on the back or anything, because a lot of people in this generation are indeed dumb as shit. But that access and learning how to use these resources gives us a better bullshit detector as it relates to propaganda and the news that we are consuming, allowing us to ask questions like, should we listen to the military and the government that has a record of lying and fabricating evidence, or should we listen to the people on the ground? Then we can ask more specific questions, like if Hamas has a tunnel in Al-Shifa Hospital, why would the evidence that the IDF presents be a calendar in Arabic that they claim is the name of terrorists, when indeed it says Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday? And then it becomes that much more obvious that there's a reason that there's attacks on public education and immigration in this country. And when things start to fall into place and you start to learn and you start to deconstruct and unpack, it's very hard to put that shit back in a box. So keep talking, keep learning, keep sharing. It's working.
Can I just say, this is so nice. I just feel like I've been crying forever about everything that's been going on in the world. And so it's just so nice to be able to get together. I'm glad you two got to meet John.
Where do you guys stand on all that stuff, by the way, like the Israel-Palestine stuff?
Oh, in this house, it's Free Palestine. As it should be in every house. Well, he just means that he needs more time to do his own research.
75 years wasn't enough time? I guess I just don't understand how Israel can be in the wrong if all of the good guys in the world are on their side. Who good guys? Like all our allies, like France?
Hello? Yeah, he's right here. Okay, yeah, I will. It's Haiti. They said they want to talk about your boys, the French. Should I just put them on hold? I'll put them on hold.
Hello?
Oh. Okay. It's Niger. Sure. Algeria would like a word with you.
Allô? Ouais. Il est là, juste en face de moi. Malheureusement. Ok. Très bien, je te le passe.
The French Revolution is calling.
From what phone? Okay, what about Canada? They're like the good guys.
Hi everyone, we're still waiting for a couple to trickle in, but let's go ahead and get started. Who wants to go first? Okay, residential schools, I saw your hand first. And then we'll go internment camps during the First World War. Then we'll go internment camps during the Second World War. Then we'll go to the Sexual Sterilization Act of 1928. Or, sorry, slavery, you're muted. You're muted. Jesus. Okay, what about the UK? England is our closest ally. All right, fine, that one I get, but... Go on. Hi, Ireland. No, I just knew because we were talking about like who'd been wronged by the English. And well, no, we're gonna kind of skip over it because it's like, how much time do you have, you know? I love you. Is tu ma hushla slanko for Zoe? I gotta go. Okay. You were saying? Okay, fine. What about the United States, the country that we are in right now? Hello? It's Haiti. They hung up and called back. Yeah, no, he's right here. Okay. I'll tell him to give you a call. It's Vietnam, something about My Lai and Agent Orange. It's the ghost of Allende. The ghost of Patrice Lumumba. Huh. What? That was the CIA. They said they were planting something in black neighborhoods. Sunflowers? No, it's too late in the season. It's the Dakota, Omaha, Navajo, Lakota, Pueblo, Pequot tribe. I just got the weirdest call. What happened? He said, how's my favorite little nation? And then when I asked who is it, he said Satan. Like the Satan? Sounded like him. You know what Satan sounds like? Like a senator. Hello? It's transatlantic slavery. I've got chattel slavery online too. Joe Biden just tweeted, I want oil. I think he meant to text that to Kamala. He just tweeted again, oopsies, autocorrect, I meant peace. Okay, okay, I get it. I guess just like, despite all that stuff, I still think our government is mostly good. Oh, you do? Hello? I do. Hello? Well, do you also want to be an astronaut when you grow up? Who was that? I don't know. It was just like muffled screams and crackling flames. Reagan.
I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert on Israel and Palestine because I'm not. But what I am an expert on is understanding being a marginalized person, especially in the United States, and what that does psychologically. Like, it's psychological violence. And when you are at the intersection of that, you are a very skilled person at spotting an oppressive system. Media literacy is, I think, the number one thing that we all can really understand right now. Understanding language, how language works, how it's a tool for storytelling, tool for destruction. One of the most impactful things that I've done is humanizing the experience. If you haven't already seen Queering the Map, it is a website, queeringthemap.com. It shows queer people around the world. It's a reminder that queer people exist everywhere and we belong yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And please know, despite what the media says, there are gay Palestinians. We are here, we are queer, free Palestine. I've always imagined you and me sitting out in the sun, hand in hand, free at last. We spoke of all the places we would go if we could, yet we are gone now. You are gone now. If I had known the bombs raining down on us would take you from me, I would have gladly told the world how I adored you more than anything. I'm sorry I was a coward. A place where I kissed my first, I think it's crush. Being gay in Gaza is hard, but somehow it was fun. I made out with a lot of boys in my neighborhood. I thought everyone is gay to some level. Love to all the queer Philistines. Queer people around the world deserve a yesterday, today, and tomorrow, forever and always. Free Palestine.
Israel failed to consider when they expelled 750,000 Palestinians 73 years ago was that their grandchildren, now from all over the world, are coming back. We're here.
If you are in this fight against oppression, against fascism, against racism, against white supremacy, against settler colonialism, if you are in this shit to win, go do something else, because it's not about winning. It's about doing what the fuck is right.
This TikTok is only for people for whom freeing Palestine is consuming your every waking thought and you're confused as to why it's not doing that for everyone else. I'm not going to be able to explain to you why that's happening. I just want to filter out for you, conscientious person. You, conscientious person. Capitalism has taught you about responsibility, but it has taught you responsibility individualistically. So you wake up each morning with a goal. And if you complete that goal, you're unsatisfied. And if you don't complete that goal, you're unsatisfied. That's a setup. Isn't that a setup? Do you know the way that you're supposed to be doing this? Is you wake up every morning, you set your intention for helping. And if you complete that intention, you're satisfied with your work for the day, knowing that you are part of an ocean of people that are helping. And if you don't complete that intention, you're meant to advocate for yourself as to why. Because there's always a good reason. Because guess what? You're a good person, you're conscientious, and you take responsibility. That's why I filtered out for you at the beginning. I'm not talking about all those other people, I'm talking about you. You're confused why everyone is not as consumed about this as you are. You're a specific type of conscientious, responsible person. That's the difference. And the world exploits you because it knows that you will never be satisfied with the amount that you have done, but you are one person. And capitalism tells you that you as one person can save the world. You as one person can do all the things, and that you're unsatisfied at the end of the day because actually you can't. You're one person, you have 24 hours a day. You're doing what you can. You're doing the best that you can. No one's gonna come and tell you, except me apparently, no one's gonna come and tell you, number one, that what you're doing is working, and number two, that your efforts each day are enough. This is not letting you off the hook. This is the brain rot of this thought process. Oh, if I accept that what I've been doing is good, then I'll get complacent. No, you won't get complacent because you're a responsible person who's conscientious. We've filtered for you at the beginning, remember? You won't get despondent, you won't get derailed, you won't get unfocused. You're you. Now I'm telling you, at the end of each day, put your pencil down and say, I did my best, okay? We cannot do this overnight, no matter how many of us there are. We can't do this overnight, and we can't do this by ourselves, okay? So you do what you can, you protect yourself, and you keep yourself in this fight for the long term. We need you for the long term. You hear me? Okay. Free Palestine.
I want to talk a little bit about solidarity and empathy, and I think where these conversations that we're having, be it about Brittany, Broski, or influencers, or people not speaking out, are falling short. To witness something is painful. To witness, to record, to document, to observe something is painful. It requires the discomfort to situate yourself and place your line of sight in the direction of something painful or horrific. Solidarity is expensive, and solidarity costs something. And what I mean by that is that in order to operate in solidarity, it requires a depth of attention. To pay close attention to something, to offer something deep attention, is a form of love. And in order to offer something attention in a deep and meaningful way, it requires, first of all, an internal understanding and an internal sort of audit that breaks down the ideas and narratives and preconceptions and biases that we use to protect ourselves. It requires the abandonment of those parts. And it requires a presence of self, of mind, of perspective that allows us to remove the distance between us and that pain, right? We've all experienced pain, or us in that grief. We've all experienced grief, or us in that despair, or that sense of hopelessness. It requires us to get all that shit out of the way and pay very, very close and deep attention to something that will, without question, surface feelings of similar pain and grief and agony within ourselves. And this depth of attention is costly, and solidarity is costly because it doesn't reward us in the typical ways we're accustomed to receiving a reward. It doesn't tell us you're a good person. Often it tells us that we are not, or that we are complicit in the very things that we seek to stand in solidarity with. It makes us acutely aware of our other in the ways that we've been privileged. And I think another key component of cost here is that we lose the world that we had operated in previously when we stand in solidarity, because the path of solidarity, right, is to see something outside of yourself and to pay it deep attention and then have that transform the world that we were operating in before. It's an apocalypse, be it a personal, a political, an emotional apocalypse. It's the closing and ending. It's a finality of one world, one perspective, one way of seeing, and the beginning of another. And that's not to say that it's not beautiful and that it's not a worthy price to pay. But I think when we're talking about, influencers that don't want to share, right, anything about what's happening in Palestine or Sudan or the Congo or Papua, they're fearing the loss of maybe followers sitting on the fence, or followers that would feel uncomfortable in the way that would affect their money. And I think on a deeper existential and on an infinitely more human level, there's a fear of what it means to show up and pay that deep attention to something, and understand that your perspective, your behaviors, and your worldview will change with it, that you will ultimately have to become a different person in solidarity than you were before. You had the awareness brought to you by witnessing that comes through the decision to stand in solidarity. And it's a lot to ask, and I think it's a lot to give, which makes it so precious, right? That our liberation is bound up in each other's, but it's also a very painful and vulnerable experience, because there's a lot of sacrifice and loss that comes with an action like that. And activism has always been spiritual. Our liberation, our concept of our shared humanity is deeply spiritual, and I think it would be ridiculous not to say that, regardless of the critiques I know I'll get. But I think when we're talking about what we owe each other, we're talking about what we need to do for each other. It's silly to think of free will. It's silly to think, well, I'm not an expert on this and I can do what I want with my platform, because I think deep down we all know what we should do, and we know how we should belong to each other, and we know how we need to be belonged to and of, and we know it in the ways that we have been deprived, right, which makes us scarce in how we treat others, and scarce in how much we're willing to change to accommodate the changing world around us, and how much we're willing to see to protect our own comfort. But on some level we all know it. We know it.
So I want every single one of you to understand this. If you are advocating for Palestine, if you are doing everything that you possibly can, and if you think that, oh, my little measly post is not enough, or what does it matter, I'm one person and I don't go to a protest with thousands, hundreds of thousands. Wallahi azim, when I tell you that your measly little post, you're one body in the sea of hundreds and thousands, that you didn't do it because you expected a result or because it was going to make some big grand outcome. You did it off of principle. And when I tell you, that is the only thing that matters. You did it because, simply put, it's the right thing to do. Khalas, that's it. And that right there, if that was in your heart, and if you don't know that but you get it now, internalize it, believe it, eat it. I'm telling you, it's you're amazing for it. You're amazing.
I just watched the video of children mining. Children. Not only that, they did not have any tools. They do not have any protection, no sense of organization, just mining with their hands, digging for cobalt so we can have a new iPhone every year. And mind you, this is not a new thing. Now when I look at my phone, I'm like, how many kids, how many women, how many men being ill-treated did it take for me to get this? What's happening in Palestine? Terrible. Terrible. The worst part is a lot of people on this app, or a lot of people in society, will never understand, will never want to understand, because it's not affecting them directly. And that's a sad part of our society. Unless it's affecting me directly, I do not care. That's a lot of the attitude that a lot of people have. And I know that seeing this content can be draining. I know it can be very uncomfortable to watch these videos, these pictures of children being blown to pieces and just everything being in rubbles. But imagine your uncomfort compared to the people actually witnessing this. It's heartbreaking. And no one should live like that. No one should live in the fear of not knowing if they're going to see the next day. Not knowing if the next hour is their last hour. It's one thing if you want to protect yourself. It's another thing if you want to wipe out an entire nation. An entire nation. Just to push your agenda forward. I just want to take the time to thank everyone that has been saying and doing something to help out other human beings. It shows that there's light at the end of the tunnel, that there are people that care, that there are people that don't only focus on the mentality of, if it doesn't affect me or my pockets, it does not concern me. If you really think that way, you really need to get checked. Like, you really need to reevaluate yourself. Anyways, free Palestine.
Sometimes people are so poor that all they have is money. For a lot of black people in the States, this is where we're at. And I specifically said a lot of black folks, because I'm not talking about everybody. I'm not talking about the upper class niggas with the 4-car garages and the private schools. No disrespect, but this shit not for you. With everything going on right now with the Palestinian people, and I know my niggas see that shit. I'll be real with y'all. A lot of the niggas that I know, what I see them doing is still like outside smoking, drinking, partying, boom, boom, finding any way to escape the pain that they've had their whole lives. The shit that you seeing right now that's shaking you up, most niggas was seeing when they was 12 and 13 years old. Like, they didn't need no epiphany from some crazy ass genocide whatever many miles away. They saw that shit across the street. They saw their best friend die in front of their face. Do you get that shit? No, you fucking don't. So don't ever try to condemn the way in which we process that. Not to my people. I know it's hard to care about motherfuckers 3 worlds away when people right across the street didn't care about you when your world was crumbling. But what I want to say to that is, it's not about treating motherfuckers how they treat you. It's about treating motherfuckers the way you deserve to be treated. Nobody will argue that when shit was happening to you, the whole world should have reacted the same way it's reacting right now to the people in Palestine. Like, it's not about which atrocity is worse. It's about helping those in need, my nigga. And like, you didn't get that. And I'm sorry. And I'll try to work the rest of my life to make sure you feel the love that you didn't feel then. But that don't mean that you deprive somebody else of what you were deprived of. And with that, it is forever free Palestine. And my heart and my soul, my being is with the Palestinian people and my people. And the two cannot be mutually exclusive. When in order for the foot of oppression to be lifted off my neck, the foot of oppression must be lifted off of theirs.